Good job today, man. One at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Mr. JetsCentral, how are you doing, my friend?
What's going on, bro? What's going on? Dude, new season. We got Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner locked up on new big time contract extensions. You got a new setup too, man. So the culture's changing in New York.
You know, it is, and like, just so everybody knows, like, I apologize in advance. I have wires hanging everywhere. Lights are flickering. So I'm literally just got this set up about 10 minutes ago. So I appreciate your patience. But when you have Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson get done, dude, we got to talk about it, because we're going to do a training camp preview, like, oh, biggest storylines. And that was going to be a big storyline, dude. Like, is there going to be any contract distractions? What's going to go on? And lo and behold, out of the silence, the quietest time of the NFL season, boom, deals are being made. Nobody knew it was coming. The players announced it. And I think it's awesome, dude. I'm so excited. I guess we can start with Garrett Wilson, because he was the first player after last year with Aaron Rodgers. Like, you know what? Does he want to trade? Does he want to get out of there? Is he tired of the bad offense, tired of bad quarterback play, not getting his numbers, not winning? And then when he talked to the media and after he met with Aaron Glenn, his mindset kind of changed a little bit, didn't it? He kind of talked about, I got to be a better route runner. I got to be more consistent. I got to be a better blocker. And he kind of like a leadership role. Like, I got to earn my position on this team. And him speaking like that as one of the best playmakers on offense spoke volumes. And then a deal followed, dude. So, I mean, Garrett Wilson, I think this is awesome. They're proactive. It works. The money's not crazy. And now he's here till 2030.
Yeah, and that's absolutely crazy. One thing that's really, really cool, too, is the entirety of Garrett Wilson's prime is going to be spent with the Jets.
Yep.
I don't know if you caught his comments to Josina Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you had a busy day and everything, but basically it was a long response about just how excited he is about the future, kind of fresh start. He doesn't have to worry about anything, and he's committed to, not only just football, but the Jets, of course. And to go, or, really as a Jet fan, to read a statement or, a quote like that, and just think back to a couple months ago, December, January, 4 or 5, 6 months ago now, where we were losing. We had way more questions than answers. I mean, the shots that Garrett Wilson and Rodgers would take at each other in the media, like subtly, him kind of getting visibly upset and mad, angry on the sidelines, Rodgers prioritizing throwing to his buddies. To go from that, reporters talking about a potential trade request coming down the line, us talking about a potential trade request, and how it could maybe be a win-win for him. That doesn't happen. Yep. Fast forward to July, this guy's under contract, like you said, dude, until 2030. So I know that the money looks really big today.
Yeah.
But in 2027, like, he won't be a top 5 paid wide receiver. Like, it's going to, of course, we're gonna have the cap continuing to go up, which obviously helps out, like, all things like all the contracts combined. But as the years go on, man, I mean, what was the other option? Lowball him, let him walk, and he's just going to go ball out for another team.
Trade him. Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, so I'm really, really happy that we finally took care of our own really, really good player, handed him a big deal, kind of rewarded him for what he's done, but also you're paying him for the future as well.
So now, how much credit do you give? Well, you got to give Woody Johnson credit, which we don't like doing, but he's putting the money up. Like, he said, listen, football guys making football decisions. They want to keep him. He's shelling out the guaranteed money, right?
Bro,
but good.
No, just to kind of piggyback off that real quick. I don't want to, cut you off completely here, but look at Shamar Stewart in that Bengals situation, right? Why is that an issue? It's the Bengals, it's the ownership, it's the money. You have the whole Trey Hendrickson thing going on. And then before that, you had the whole T Higgins thing. So, I know not everyone wants to do it, Not everyone likes to do it, but we do have to actually credit ownership here for forking over the cash.
Yeah, so you have that, and then you have, you gotta. I'm wondering how much credit do you give Aaron Glenn to get these players to buy in? Obviously, you're gonna give somebody 90 million guaranteed, but you know what? I'm gonna stay. But you also got to sell a vision. Like, listen, I know you're tired of the nonsense coaching, the poor play calling, the incompetence, the inconsistency, the lack of accountability. But do you give Glenn and Muji any credit for, like, listen, they gave you a blueprint and a vision. He bought into it. Like, you know what? I can go in for this, even with Justin Fields as the quarterback. Do you give them any credit with this?
I do, because 90 mil guaranteed is obviously a ton. 130, right? It's like a literal mega deal here. But if Garrett was traded, if Garrett was on the open market, he would get a deal like this. So, if you're Garrett's agent, if you're Garrett, like if you are him, like if you're Garrett and you're thinking to yourself, like, okay, your worth, what you've done so far, you know how to sell yourself, you have, a reputable agent and everything like that. Again, if you're negotiating with other teams, like, how much less are you really going to make?
Yeah.
Probably not that much. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's real, like you're really splitting hairs.
Yep. No, I agree.
Dollars just, as make light of that and say it's splitting hairs. But, if he was a free agent, we all know how free agency works. Just picturing in your mind, free agency opens up early March. Garrett Wilson is an unrestricted free agent. How much is this guy going to be getting?
Yeah, and so I think you give Woody Johnson credit. They spend the money. You give Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji credit for talking about it and actually doing it. How many times we want to keep our own players, and they don't. They kept Jamie and Sherwood. You're keeping Garrett Wilson. You're keeping Sauce Gardner. Now with Garrett Wilson, also it's like he's easily one of your best players in offense. He's also a selling point going forward. So now he's a building block. You're going to have him for the next 5-6 years easily. Okay, we got wide receiver 1 down. Now we know we add a piece of the puzzle, and you can lure other guys in. It speaks to your locker room too, dude, where it's like, all right, now, like, listen, he works his ass off. We know what he brings to the table, and now he's one of us. Now he can lure people in. He could be a recruiter. He could be the leader. And that was the one thing we talked about for a long time, dude, was like, who's Aaron Glenn's guy? Where's the former Lion? Where's the former Saint? Who's the guys can be his voice in the locker room? And what Glenn has done is he's identified guys that are already here. So listen, you're my guy. You're my guy for this team. I want you to be the spokesperson for this offense. You set the tone. Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, but Garrett and Sauce are the guys on both sides of the opposite sides of the ball where it's like, listen, you're the guy, the spokesperson that I want you to set the tone and the standard for our team, and we're gonna show it by backing you up financially. It's an interesting move, dude. I love it. I think it's, as a Jet fan, if you're not excited, you're just being a miserable prick. Seriously, because this is what they have not done the longest time. Quentin Williams got his deal, but you had to drag it out. But this is like, it was a no-brainer in my eyes.
Yeah, I think what really helps here is Garrett's still so young. He's had a lot of he's had a lot of adversity around him with the coaching, with the O-lines, with the quarterback play, with the losing, and he's still producing, man. He kind of reminds me a little bit of DeAndre Hopkins, not so much like play style, but just, Hopkins was out there producing with who? Like Brandon Whedon, Yates, like all the, just throw whoever out at quarterback, doesn't even matter. Throw you or I out there. Like D-Hop is going to go out and somehow snag 1,000 receiving yards and be totally fine. Garrett is in a similar sense, right? Boyle, Zach, Rodgers, prioritizing his friends. Like, it doesn't matter. Garrett Wilson's going to go out and get his numbers. And also, too, another big benefit here is when you think about the Jets passing attack, right? And you got all 32 teams on the board. Jets passing attack, where does it rank? Probably towards the bottom of the league, I would say, just being honest.
Yep.
And you now solidified not only just a wide receiver 1, not only someone who wants to be here, not only someone who's a former top 10 pick and still has room left in the tank to grow, and you're teaming him up with a staff that's literally drawing plays up for Garrett in camp, which is a huge sign. Should be a no-brainer, but it's really encouraging that we're actually hearing that this early. As opposed to, in December or something like that, where the Jets coaching staff figured out okay, Garrett's actually a dynamic player, kind of like what we saw with Breece Hall and Hackett with the whole catching the football thing, which was weird. But not only are you doing all of those things, but you're locking in a huge piece to one of the worst areas, the worst sections of the team. Which, I mean, could you imagine what this passing attack would look like without Garrett? Now, of course, injuries happen, but this was the Jets went out and they handled business. Garrett has not shown any. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just to touch on that is we think a lot of times in the short term about this year. I'm thinking about the foreseeable future where it's like, okay, just say in theory Justin Fields doesn't work out. If you have to draft a rookie quarterback next year, you're giving him pieces of the puzzle where you have a plug-and-play offense. Like, listen, we got our wide receiver 1. You're hoping Mason Taylor, once he signs, is going to be your tight end. You got the running backs. You have pieces where it's like, all right, listen, it may not be perfect now, but when we incorporate that young quarterback to be the next franchise quarterback, maybe even be Justin Fields for all you know, you have pieces of the puzzle now. It's not like, oh, God, now we got to replace Garrett. Now we got to do this. Like, you're assembling legitimate game-breaking talent, which the Jets have struggled to do. They've had to sell their soul with Band-Aids to get him. Now it's like he's one of your own. Homegrown, you know what you have, 24 years old, going to be 25. That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's like the name of the game. Like, look at the Detroit Lions where Aaron Glenn is coming from, right? All those players that they drafted, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, the list goes on. Aiden Hutchinson. The Lions have gotten out in front of some of these contracts and have just handed out these big deals. It's like some fans are like, why are they doing this? I think, when you take a look at some of the well-ran organizations, the Eagles, I hate to say it, but the Bills,
It's true.
They do similar things where it's just like, okay, obviously this guy is going to, be an impactful piece for no matter who he plays for, us or another team. We know we obviously want him in our locker room. Let's just get it done. We're going to have to pay him eventually. If we're going to save money and the cap is going to continue to go up, let's just do it now. Let's not create a problem down the road similar to the Cincinnati Bengals. I hate to keep bringing them up, but look at that T. Higgins and Jamar Chase whole situation, right? Where they're like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and nothing gets done until the very last minute. And both guys are just I mean, Jamar Chase's contract is like, we're talking about Garrett getting 32.5. Jamar's 40.
Yeah.
Like the difference between Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner, who we're going to talk about, that's 100,000. The difference between Chase and Garrett, and granted, there is a pretty big gap of the type of player, the talent of the player, and also the production so far. But that's what, $7.5 million. So, I think, to me, if you're a Jet fan, like, you got to be pumped.
Yeah, I mean, your goal with moves like this is make play calling easier for Engstrand, make life easier for Justin Fields, and have pieces as you move forward to have a dynamic, awesome offense. I think you're doing that by keeping Garrett Wilson. I think we really haven't seen what he is because the offense had sucked so bad between bad quarterback play, bad play calling, bad line play. Like they were completely dysfunctional. Now it's like, and they said they're going to feed him. They're going to feed him the ball, make him a focal point of the offense, which is perfect. So now it's like, okay, now you have him. You work on the rest of the offense. You go to the other side of the ball with Sauce Gardner. Again, go ahead.
Real quick, before we jump over to defense, one thing I also think is important to talk about is, Justin Fields right now is not considered this top 10 quarterback or anything like that. We got to make sure that he has enough weapons or as many weapons as possible.
Absolutely.
And so Garrett just being on the field helps. Him being his, college buddy helps. But also, you're eliminating this potential distraction of a holdout. It's Garrett Wilson suiting up for the Jets in week 1 is probably going to happen regardless on what happened, whether he got the extension or not, because he's still on his rookie deal entering year 4. But the optic around it is either you pay him, he's pumped, he's all in like he is now, or you don't pay him, or you lowball him, or you don't offer him anything, and now he's holding out a month of training camp, and Fields and Wilson aren't really on the same page, and there's this ongoing storyline, and Aaron Glenn has to talk about it, Tanner Engstrand has to talk about it, Justin Fields is talking about it, and all of a sudden the season gets here, Garrett shows up, great, he's here, but the two haven't really spent any time together for a month working, but now it's no distractions, just head down, work, and move forward here.
Like the entire offseason's been. The entire offseason's been that way. It's been quiet, just actions, not words. And now it's like one of my storylines as you do a training camp preview is like, all right, are they going to get Sauce and Garrett done? Boom, that story's gone, dude. Like, we're not worried about Breece Hall, not worried about Jermaine Johnson, not worried about Quincy Williams as of yet. So now it's like you eliminate that. Then you go to Sauce Gardner, who is an interesting player because, defensive rookie of the year, 2-time All-Pro. The fans loved him. Shut down Revis 2.0. Last year, a down year on his standard where, some poor tackling, some questionable coverage, maybe some effort, all kinds of different things. We're like, you know, what is this sauce? But I'm like, I think he was a product of the environment at that point where the team was just falling apart. Salah gets fired, Ulbricht's over his head. Maybe he's a little banged up. I think the defense just, you know, I think maybe it's my own personal opinion between my blind faith in Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes. They're going to get the most out of him, dude. I think Sauce wants to be coached hard. I think he wants to be held accountable. He wants to be held to a higher standard by his own organization, by his coaching staff, demanding more. And I think he'll flourish. I think he realized last year, maybe, you know what? This was a little step back for me, but I'm better than this. And I want to show him better than this. And now when he makes this money and he's pointed out as a leader of the team now, where the Jets are saying, listen, you set the tone on defense. You, Quincy, Quinn, like you're the guy now. You wanted the money, you earned it. Now you gotta, you know, contribute and go to another level. So I don't mind him making him the highest paid corner in football on average. Doesn't bother me at all. We expected it. We talked about it for how many months now. He's going to get big time money when you're a corner, you know, a prime position like that. They always get paid. You saw Stingley and everybody else. He got what, $100,000 more or whatever. Like, I don't care about that. It's about keeping an excellent defensive talent on this team where you can predicate your defense around it. You have that corner. Then you have Michael Carter. Like, it's a lot of things you can do with Sauce. That's a benefit. So paying him makes a lot of sense, dude. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm not worried about it. So, I mean, I think I give the Jets credit, dude. I'm surprised they got it done. I was worried that he'd be the one of the two that would be the one that kind of was going to hold out for a little bit more and be that distraction, and nothing happened. So it's great.
Yeah, I think something else to make a note of here, the Jets have a lot of cap space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like how it was with JD or at the end of the JD era where it's just like we're paying all these vets. We have a lot of dead money. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, the Jets have to pay Rodgers in 2026 a decent amount. But outside of that, man, I mean, I guess arguably the Alan Lazard thing as well. But those are like the only two contracts where I'm looking at the roster thinking to myself, like this, we're in really, really good shape. So, you know, as far as the Jets being able to afford Wilson, afford Gardner on these big time deals, it's really, you know, I really just don't think that it's going to hamper them in any sort of way. Like, you know, if we want to pull off a trade for like a Jawan Jennings, bring him in, extend him on a 3-year deal, that's not really going to like the Gardner deal, the Wilson deal. It's not really going to change anything. And also, these contracts don't really kick in for another couple years.
Exactly.
So it's not like we have to, you know, freak out and everything is starting immediately like a free agent signing. So where we have to all of a sudden cut a player to get underneath the cap or trade someone away and take a bad deal or something, like, you know, just because the Jets have been in situations like that before. So yeah, I mean, overall, man, I love the contract setup. I love how the players both won. They both got what they wanted. No distractions. They're both going to be hitting camp, like eager, pumped, ready to go. The team's obviously going to be pumped and ready to go. The fans are pumped and ready to go. Dude, like, life is good.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying two 24-year-old star players. Like, how is that a bad thing? Like, they're going to be 25 years old and going to the peak and prime of their career. The Jets were always after that, getting the Devontae Adams and trying to chase all this lightning in a bottle for one last run. Like, you should be getting the best years out of them at a reasonable price. So when you look at the contracts, both contracts, I don't think anybody's saying, you know, this was irresponsible by Muji. I'm sure Spielman kind of guided them, but like, it's not like these contracts are an albatross. We're like, oh, they're selling their souls, and 2 years from now they're going to be screwed. You're saying, no, 2 years from now they're going to be undervalued. The contracts they're having now, 2 years from now, they're going to be 10 guys ahead of them, probably at both positions. So I think it's smart. It's, you know, makes sense on both levels. And I think it's great, man. Like, I genuinely think this has a big statement to the locker room. When bringing Jamian Sherwood back was huge. That's the guy that they thought they were going to lose. They brought him back. They paid him a lot of money. But now you have these two guys with their extension saying, listen, we're spending money on our own. You guys earned it. You worked your asses off through difficult times here. You're buying in. You become the leaders that we want you to be. Now you get rewarded. And now it kind of trickles down to the locker room. Like, all right, like, this front office means business. Aaron Glenn's not full. He's not full of hot air. He's actually backing up what he preaches.
Yeah, and it sends a message to obviously the player. It sends a message to the locker room, like you said. It sends a message to agents, right? Hey, the Jets aren't messing around. If my client, my player, goes to New York and he plays well and he's a fit there, they will reward him.
100%.
It also, I think, even trickles down to college football. You know, if you're a kid coming out and you get drafted by the Jets, you know, if you can create that culture within the organization, which is, hey, if I go out and perform for this team, they will, you know, value me and reward me with a big deal. They're not going to try to nickel and dime you like, again, the Bengals here, Or
Yep.
even like you look at the Washington Commander situation,
Yeah,
where they
McLaurin.
flip the late round pick, they take on Debo Samuel, and McLaurin's like pissed about it.
Mhm.
And look, I don't want to make it sound like Darren Mooney's some top 5 guy or anything like that. Like we haven't even seen a game yet. Things could go south. Just throwing it out there, right? Just
Yep.
objectively speaking, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, we're just too, whatever, Homer fans blinded by everything, and Darren Muji is the
Yeah, but
greatest general manager in football. But I do think it's important to recognize, like, hey, everything that he's done so far, maybe outside of the Stevens deal, has been, I would say, pretty impressive in year one for a 40-year-old general manager. And the Stevens deal is that could have been 100% Aaron Glenn. So
yeah, and that's an excellent point. And I was saying, we're not going to say like Moochie's great, but throughout the free agency period, other than Sherwood and Stevens, like, they're not really spending a lot of money. What are they doing with this cap space? What are they doing? All these different things, but they're not scared to spend money. But they're kind of like handpicking exactly who they want, when they want, and the money they want them with, and it makes a lot of sense. So it's like I'm comfortable with it. But now it's like you look at what's the aftermath. You got your two. So now your big storylines are taken care of. Sauce and Garrett are getting paid. Great. Now you go to Quincy Williams is interesting. And we talked about this probably about a month ago. I think I haven't talked to him in like a year. It's like 2 weeks off. Got me all thrown off here. But Quincy Williams, to me, after listening to his press conference and like the kind of direction that Aaron Glenn gave him, like we need to be like the heartbeat of our defense, like the heart and soul, the emotional lead, all that stuff. I kind of get that weird vibe that he could be the next guy to make, not like a huge deal, maybe a 2-year extension, something else to kind of keep him here. But like, listen, we know your role in this defense. We know what you bring to the table. We know you earned a new deal. You're an all-pro linebacker. For some reason, I think of all the guys that are still kind of can get a deal, I think Quincy could be next. What do you think?
dude, I would love that, man. Quincy Williams is my favorite player on this team. Favorite player on this defense, man. Love how he plays. He just feels like an Aaron Glenn type of player. Like he fits the system. He runs hard, tackles hard. Effort is at an all-time high. It really feels like he is playing just foot slam down on the floor, just 100% full go every single play. And like early on in his career, that would kind of get him into, funky spots sometimes where he's over pursuing or he just flies right by the ball carrier if they put just like a slight move on him. But I mean, really, dude, like if you're thinking about like a Steve Wilkes, Aaron Glenn, blitz heavy team, we already have Jamie and Sherwood to kind of lock up that middle linebacker position. Now, all of a sudden, if you want to send Quincy Williams on like quarterback blitzes, delay blitzes, I mean, there's so many things that you can do with him. And plus, like, he's not 33 years old.
Yep.
Like
29, right?
Yeah, 100%, Lauren. If they don't extend Quincy, they're nuts. Because if you don't bring him back, I mean, he's going to be here regardless for this season. But, if they just allow him to walk in free agency, that's a position that I don't necessarily want to be going into free agency or the draft, like trying to fill, spending money or spending a high valuable draft pick and probably not getting the same type of production when you could have just paid your own homegrown guy here. So I would love to see Quincy back.
Now, one story that could slowly generate is Breece Hall, who, at one point was a fan favorite. Everybody loved him. He's kind of tailed off after the injury where some people are like, didn't run hard, didn't break tackles, drop passes, all this stuff. I think he's got a ton of talent in a contract year, a legitimate contract year where, like, listen, he's literally playing for money. Do you see him, after seeing these guys get their big paydays, being jealous or envious or being a distraction? Or he keeps, like, he talked about in the, in the OTAs, keeping his head down, just working his ass off to show that he is the guy that they want him to be, proving that he's healthy, powerful, fast. Do you see him at any point becoming a distraction now because this money was shelled out?
I don't think so. I mean, he doesn't really strike me as that type of guy. I would hope not. But at the same time, like, running back is just a different position. Yeah. Compared to corner and wide receiver. Like, we know what these guys are getting paid. And then we take a look at the running back room. It's just not, or running back contracts / extensions. It's just nowhere near what some of these wideouts are getting paid. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right. And also too, like, the Jets already have a couple young backs on the roster. It's not like it's, Saquon in Philly or Derrick Henry in Baltimore where there's one guy and that's it. Like, it seems like they want to implement all three. They want to get all three going. It wouldn't shock me if we don't see a deal.
Yeah. And then Jermaine Johnson, they picked up his 5th-year option. I think with him, it's like, I think they love the player, but he's got a lot to prove. He's got to come back fully healthy. He's got to flourish in this defense. I think if things work out with him, that's something that happens down the line. That's nothing that I don't think would happen this year, maybe the end of this year. But I think and it's not discounting him at all. It's just like, all right, listen, You got to come back and show what you can do. Defense, be healthy, be a contributor, be the leader that we think you are. But I don't think it's any concerns with him at all. Do you?
No. Like at the end of the day, dude, like there's nothing wrong with just wanting to wanting to see someone kind of play it out and just kind of, take it week by week, month by month. Reality is Jermaine Johnson, these guys, they haven't played with Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn doesn't necessarily know how they're going to respond to adversity, but I think in the case of Gardner, at one point in time, people were talking about him as the best corner in football. For how long? Obviously, that's up for debate. Yeah. Garrett is, a resume speaks for itself. Just being able to produce at a high level with just this crap storm around him, like that's, I think it's pretty telling. I think if you ask, just random fans of football, hey, is Garrett Wilson, one of the better receivers in football? Yeah. But if you say, hey, is Jermaine Johnson the best edge rusher in football? Is he a top 5 edge rusher in football? Not many people are going to say that. But who knows? Maybe he goes out and has a dominant year working with Wilkes and Glenn. And then the Jets would, of course, have to probably pay more. But the reality is you're not going to just hand out extensions to everyone on every young player on the roster, no matter their situation. I think Garrett and Gardner are kind of in a class of their own.
Yeah, and Jermaine Johnson, I see the comments in the chat. He loves being a Jet, dude. Like, he's truly embracing it, getting everything he has. He's messaging fans. He's fully committed to getting back as fast as possible. He feels like he let people down last year, which is crazy because injuries happen. He didn't let anybody down, but he definitely does that. This is a good question from Shaq. Elijah Vera Tucker, does he get an extension if healthy all season?
Yeah, that's another thing, dude. Guard is actually one of those sneaky positions that are starting to creep up and get like big time money, man. Yeah, dude. Today, I didn't even think of that, but even going back to like last season, Robert Hunt got $100 million. Like there's some big time deals being handed out. Guard is kind of one of those strange positions too, where you can bring someone in on a cheap deal, $7 million per season, John Simpson, right? And get really, really good production for like hardly any money football, in football terms. And then you could also go out and just break the bank and go out and sign the top available guards. So, and also you can draft guys in like the 3rd, 4th round, have them be plug and play and just all of a sudden burst out into the scene. But yeah, if AVT's healthy all year, it would be hard to just allow him to just hit free agency and walk and go play for another team.
And John Simpson too, another guy where it's like, it's both your guards. They play well. You kind of want to keep this starting 5 together, especially if they're working they're working well with these young players. You have your young left tackle, your young right tackle. They're working hand to hand. Keep the band together, man. And a young center for that matter, assuming that Tippmann starts. So it's like, why change it? Don't be frugal on the offensive line, especially if they've proven they can play in this offense and they're dominating. And you have that, these 5 guys are mauling people week in and week out, ground the pound. Don't change it up. Don't get too cute. Keep them, right?
Yeah, and also too, like extensions don't have to be 4 or 5 years. It could be a 2-year extension for AVT, like a big 2-year deal. Where he's like a top one of the highest paid guards in football, assuming he's healthy and really productive. Of course, but with a 2-year deal, even for like a Jermaine Johnson, I think that would be okay. Like it's not the end of the world. Not every deal has to be 4 years for 100.
Yep. So what are your thoughts on this whole Mason Taylor thing where it's not him, he hasn't signed, but it's the friggin' entire draft class, the entire round. Minus the top 2 picks, 2nd round. Nobody else has signed. It seems like it's not collusion, but the agents are all in the same thing. Listen, we want it all guaranteed money. The first 2 got it. We all want it. How does this play out? Does the NFL get involved? Like, how do you think this gets? Because now you're looking at these guys are ready to report, man, all across the NFL. Do you want them all missing time because of this? Like, it seems like it's a NFL problem, not a team problem.
Yeah, what was it? The Chargers camp started today, so I think it was Trey Harris that's holding out.
Yep.
It's interesting. You always kind of feel like with these rookie negotiations, there's always some sort of thing that's popping up that holds 1 or 2 guys back year after year. Doesn't matter the team, doesn't matter the situation. But, honestly, I think, well, first of all, Mason Taylor reported. It's not like he's skipping it. Like he's reporting he was participating in drills, albeit non-contact, but he was still out there trying to get better, which is positive and encouraging. Young player, son, bloodlines in the NFL.
Yep.
With Jason Taylor, like he knows Jason Taylor is not, completely oblivious to what's going on.
He's
like
a union guy, though.
Say it again.
He's a union guy though. Like when you have like, it's one thing to be like he showed up for OTA's mandatory minicamp, but now it's like going in the training camp without a contract is risking injuries like that. And Jason Taylor knows damn well what that's like because he was kind of prominent with like contract stuff. So I can't see him.
Yeah, I mean,
that's so it's Mason Taylor's in a tough spot because he wants to be here. I think it's just a matter of the principle of what's going on with all the contracts about the NFL. He's not going to be the first one to be like, you know what, I'm not going to take guaranteed money. I'm just going to come in. Like, he doesn't want to be that guy. He's got to kind of follow suit. You know what I mean?
Which is fine. I think the bright spot here is it's not a Mason Taylor problem. It's not a New York Jets problem. It's not a Darren Muji problem or an Aaron Glenn problem. It's literally just this weird, situation that every team has to deal with. And ultimately, like there will be a solution down the line. But and look, if I was Mason Taylor, I wouldn't go without a contract. I wouldn't go participate. I'm a diehard Jet fan. I don't even want him there. Like that'd be weird to see a report. Mason Taylor's, practicing without a contract. Like that would, like, again, as a Jet fan, that would throw me off a little bit. Like, okay, yeah, this guy loves wants to participate in everything, but kind of strange here. Just sit out and wait for your deal, and everything will work itself out.
I mean, if anything, you'd like to see him show up at the facility, be there, be in the meetings, be everything else, and just not participate. Just show. Listen, I want to be here, but this is a matter. He's either product of the system at this point where, he's like, no contract, I can't play, but I want to learn. I want to be with my teammates. So that's something to keep an eye on. It's July 15th. I have a weird feeling something happens with the NFL or somebody steps in like, listen, we can't have the entire class sitting out, the entire round sitting out for this 3 weeks over this struggle. Something I think behind the scenes gets done.
Well, and another thing too, it's, say teams just continue to follow suit. Here's a fully guaranteed deal. Here's another one. What happens next year?
The third round.
Yeah. Then you get the third round. Dude.
But do you blame them though? Like to be honest with you, do you blame them though? When you look at all these, this is, I guess, my soapbox thing. You look at baseball, you look at basketball, you look at all these guaranteed contracts. Football, the violent nature of football, where your career could be over like that. It's like I don't blame them for wanting guaranteed money, dude. They deserve it. Just because your life, your career in the NFL isn't as long as other sports. You're not getting that. It's like you can be done in a heartbeat and your money's gone. So I don't mind. It doesn't bother me at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I really don't mind. It's not my, it's not our money. That's what the money's there for. And there's a reason why the cap goes up. It's because the NFL continues to get more popular as time goes on here, unless you have some crazy situation like the virus here. It doesn't really seem to be the cap increases don't seem to be slowing down anytime soon.
So now we're, the rookies report this weekend. Training camp is next week. It's exciting time. Like, it's fun. Football's around the corner. You can smell the grass on the field and everything else. What do you think is the biggest headline going into Jets training camp? Because it's been quiet, dude. Like, there's, it's just, there's no headlines, no noise. I mean, today you have it with Sauce and Garrett getting the big deal. But other than that, it's like, there's not a lot of fanfare. It's just like, all right, people are like, Jets are going to be okay. No idea what to expect. But like, what's their biggest storyline? Is it truly Justin Fields? Like, how does he embrace this offense and how does he play? Or is it Aaron Glenn and how he can impose his will on this team and make them better than we think they're going to be?
For me, it's Fields. Fields. I think with Glenn, we know what we're going to get. We know he's going to be intense. We know he's going to preach physicality. We know he's going to be that old school presence. That was why he was hired. You listen to him talk. You listen to Lions players talk, Coach Campbell talk, Jets players talk, Lions fans talk about it. Sean Payton, going back to the New Orleans days, we know what Aaron Glenn is going to bring. With Justin Fields, we don't. And that's, what's kind of exciting about the whole thing too is, I mean, dude, how crazy would it be if a year from now or, whatever, January rolls around and we are looking at Justin Fields in the same way that fans look at Sam Darnold, fans look at Geno Smith, fans look at Baker Mayfield as one of these former higher picks that didn't really get, fall in the right situation early on. And now all of a sudden they are in that right situation and they're looking pretty good. How crazy would that be?
It'd be amazing. But that's what you want. And the one thing about Justin Fields, like, I don't know a lot about him other than what we've seen, but like his work ethic, dude, it just seems incredible. Where he's working his tail off. He's using the GoPro in his workout to see what he's doing. He's like, you can see, and it seems like the players that all talk about him, they're like, he's one of us, man. He's grinding. He wants it. He's competing. Like, he wants to be great, and he's showing it with his actions. It's not about talking about in the media. Like, he's not a big talker in the media, dude. He's all behind this. He's working with his teammates and just trying to improve as much as he possibly can. And that to me is encouraging. But I also like the fact that Tyrod Taylor's behind him. Like, I would be more concerned if, like, Justin Fields and Adrian Martinez. Like, oh man, if Fields struggles this season, going right in the tank. I think we have like a tank eliminator behind him where it's like, all right, listen, if he struggles, he gets banged up, he's not picking it up. Tyrod can hold the fort down where his team's not going to fully collapse, and they can still compete week in and week out. I think having that buffer kind of helps Justin Fields too, and also pushes him too. Like, he has legitimate competition here where it's like, listen, we gave you the starting job in theory in pencil, but if you can't be half-ass and throwing interceptions and making all throws, because the guy behind you we have confidence in as well. So I think having that competition is definitely a benefit.
Yeah, and also too, for what it's worth, if you look at when Tyrod first got the starting gig in Buffalo, there was a lot of people that, like the MO with Taylor coming out of Baltimore was, hey, he's a backup, he's a runner, good deep ball, strong enough arm, but running quarterback. Justin Fields right now, strong arm. He occasionally can hit like amazing passes, but is inconsistent, but he's a running quarterback. Crazy speed. I think Tyrod's a good mentor to have for Justin Fields. Just as someone who can maybe help Fields develop and process in the passing game. I think that'd be really cool to kind of see that whole relationship grow. I'm actually interested to see a Tyrod Taylor press conference. I don't know if we're ever going to get one, maybe outside of like a preseason recap presser. But I'm really interested to see where he stands with Justin Fields, and he always says the right thing. He's such a great teammate and leader, but
he's a true pro.
Exactly. It's something that it's obviously not the big storyline of the offseason, but just watching Tyrod maybe mentor Justin Fields in the offseason, I think because he's been on so many different teams, seen so many different defenses, been in so many different offenses as well. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
The question from Starscream, the question is for both of you guys. Will Jermaine start camp on the PUP in your opinion, or will he be full go? I think they're going to take their time with him, man. I think they're going to phase him in slowly. The goal is week one, not week one of camp, not week one of the preseason. Get him in slowly, get him acclimated to speed of the defense, being fully healthy, comfortable in his own body, not going like you don't want him blowing things out in week 3. Like you want him fully comfortable. So I think if he starts in PUP, I think he's ready week 1. How many snaps he gets probably remains to be seen, but I think that's their goal. PUP wouldn't even bother me, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to make sure that these guys are ready and good to go here. The last place I want the Jets to be is similar to the whole solid JD regime, where it's like all this mystery, everyone's walking on eggshells, and then there's like fake fake timetables that are just like not even accurate whatsoever. Is that a coach problem? Is that a doctor problem? Who knows? Is that a player problem? Like, who knows why there were so many instances? Like, think AVT and Mekhi Becton, like even Zach Wilson too. It's just like
CJ Mosley.
Yeah, CJ Mosley, like where Saleh would, hit the podium and say like, oh, we're expecting him back by this date. That day rolls around and like there's no update whatsoever. Saleh never seemed to have any updates about it. We had the whole story about rushing Becton back from injury from, I think it was Becton's agent that said that. Just eliminate all of that. Let's just have it to where when Jermaine Johnson is 100% and ready and cleared and everything is good to go, then he plays. You know what I mean? Yeah,
they actually do that. Brees too. Brees was talking about like he was playing through a serious injury. He probably should not have been playing. Like the Jets either brought guys back too early or left them in too long. Either way, with Saleh, it seemed like it was desperate because they wanted to win so bad they didn't know what they're doing. Your good friend Oscar the Grouch, one of your best friends, Tyson and Ian, are you leaning more towards keeping Brees on the team or letting him explore other options after the season? Me personally, I think that he hope he has a great year and makes that decision very difficult for us. But I think all the money that we want to put in other places, we talked about it, AVT, John Simpson, maybe go out and get a receiver, keep other guys. He could be expendable if you have faith in Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. I don't know. Like, you like the player, but allocating a lot of money to Brees could be difficult for me. What do you think?
It's a good question. I hate to give this answer, but I just need to see him this season. If he has 1,200 rushing yards and is like copies like Jahmyr Gibbs type of production, and we know what the running back market is, I'm not going to be opposed to bringing him back. Like, obviously, I'm going to be like, yo, let's bring this guy back in to the locker room here. But from the outside right now, I would I'm in the same boat as you.
Yep. This is a good question. This I don't know the answer to. How much cap space do we have left?
It shouldn't have changed. So I think right now 36 mil.
Right. Yeah, because this is all 2 years from now.
Yeah. So 36 mil right now, which is 6th in the NFL.
Yep.
Then next season we're top 5 in cap space.
Well, now, and that was the question I had for you too, because we have cap space. Are there any moves? Because now it's like now it's like when guys get ready to go to training camp. Now's when the rumors start. I'm going to hold out. I want more money, especially when you see Garrett Wilson get paid. You see Sauce get paid. Now they're like, hey, you know what? Terry McLaurin could be a problem with the Commanders. Can you see the Jets taking advantage of any of these guys that are available to maybe upgrade a position? Like, for being honest, we've talked about this a million times before. The wide receiver group kind of concerns me where I'm like, I'm not opposed to an upgrade there. Disrespecting Josh Reynolds or Alan Lazard. Corley's an unknown. Aaron Smith, rookie, kind of a project. I wouldn't mind making a move, but is there any guys you kind of have your eye on as the Jets go in the training camp?
Dude, so it's kind of funny, man, because I know like the what is it? Like, people look at Jets fans as they're almost like this collective group of like, hey, if a player becomes available, every Jet fan wants that player that becomes available. Yep. Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, all these different guys throughout the years. And I hate to just kind of follow suit with that, but I got to be honest, man, Jawan Jennings from the 49ers, to me, I think at first glance, it's like, okay, does he really move the needle? But I think if you really take a deep dive with Jennings, like, you'd be pretty impressed. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is someone who's been wide receiver 1 when Brandon Ayuk was hurt last season, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. He's played in the slot. He's played up close towards, the formation. He's played out wide, out on islands. He's coming off the best season of his career, over 950 receiving yard, over 950 receiving yards last season, 6 TDs, in 10 starts, 15 games. He's fine, not commanding $40 million per season or anything crazy like that. He wants to be paid, and rightfully so. I mean, coming off 950, dude, 950 receiving yards, he's only getting paid 7.5 mil. That's less than Josh Palmer. Yeah. That's less than Jacoby Myers right now. So if the 49ers, a team that does have a lot of big contracts, Purdy and Kittle and Warner, all these different guys, because look, San Francisco, they're probably not going to trade him, but if Jennings is just like, pay me, I'm sitting out, and they could recoup a late round pick or something, with Brandon Ayuk coming back, and you probably have a healthy Pearsall, if they feel like Jennings is expendable and they want to move him for a late round pick, I would gladly sign him on, trade a late round pick for him. You solve wide receiver 2, you add depth, you add someone who, can theoretically perform in this system, because like the Kyle Shanahan West Coast system to what we think Tanner Engstrand's offense is going to do. And also kind of the cherry on top, Steve Wilkes was in San Francisco when they made the Super Bowl. So he knows, or has that behind the scenes, behind the curtain look at how Jennings is as a teammate, how he practices. Is he a distraction? How is he in meeting rooms? Is he late? Is he a good dude? Or not so much, right? So I think it just, all signs are pointing to that making sense in my mind.
Now, I completely agree with you. But what would be his contract? Like, what would be, because obviously when you trade for him, he wants a new deal. So what would be something that would make him comfortable and happy to be a Jet?
Well, it's definitely going to be more than what he's getting now. I would say what's fair to me, low end 10 mil per season, high end maybe 13 mil, 14 mil at the high end.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you give him 3 years, 36.
That's what I was thinking. Yep.
Almost, I mean, Lazard got 4 years, 44. So like, even think that, what did Corey Davis get? 3 years, 45.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, Josh Palmer, like, we all wanted him. Lots of Jets, like, reporters kept on, like, linking him to the Jets all off season. Of course, he signed to the Buffalo Bills for 10 mil per season. He's not the wide receiver 1. He's not the wide receiver 2 or 3. He's probably going to be wide out 4, and he's getting 10 mil per season. If this dude's coming off if Jennings is coming off the best season of his career and wants a new deal, and the Jets are willing to pay it, I could see 13, 14 mil per season. And I don't think that would be a bad decision either.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dan. And the comment is, I don't think we should underestimate the huge dividends that Garrett Wilson Fields' familiarity could pay. No, absolutely, dude. That's an excellent point where he actually talked about that. Like, I honestly personally believe that if Aaron Rodgers was coming back this year, Garrett Wilson wasn't. I think that's me guessing, but I just think that relationship was damaged where it's like, you know what? If Aaron comes back, Devontae comes back, Garrett's out. Like, he's tired of all the nonsense. Now you change the faces to a quarterback that he's familiar with. He likes and respects he's played with. It makes him very comfortable. That pays huge dividends too. And I think it's a good selling point. It also helps build this offense too, where they already have that communication. They know their idiosyncrasies. They know all the, their different, routes and their abilities. And that, dude, there's definitely not underestimating that.
Yeah, and what's really cool too is like, obviously Rodgers is a good thrower of the football. Obviously Garrett Wilson's a really good wide receiver, right? But and they could be civil, they could be cool, they could be, good teammates, whatever. But deep down, you could tell when the Jets traded for Devontae Adams, it kind of irritated Wilson because he jumped him on the depth chart. And look, Adams is a really good player, but to all of a sudden get all those looks while at the same time Rodgers is still forcing the football to Lazard, even though he was like dropping a pass per week. And the Jets were losing, I could see why that would frustrate Garrett. So, and also too, just being objective here, if you put yourself in Rodgers' shoes, I can understand being 40 years old, wanting to maybe throw to the guys that you feel more comfortable with, which almost proves his point in and of itself. Proves Dan's point. But I think what's really cool here is because Fields and Garrett not only just have the playing history together, but because they're cool off the field and they're boys, I don't think there's going to be that like animosity or that like disdain, like throw me the ball.
Yep.
This guy sucks, dude. We got to get him out of here. Where maybe there was some of that with a quarterback that he's actually not cool with. Not to say that he, was at odds with anybody, but just, it's different if, one of your good buddies is quarterback and, he's throwing you the football. If he doesn't have a great throw or a great moment or he turns the ball over, it's not, you don't have to worry about them getting into some weird argument or anything. Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen situation,
No, I think it's great. I mean, I think they already had that relationship established where they know their moods, their temperament, their highs, their lows, how to handle it, how to communicate with each other. And that also helps him talk to other players too, where in theory, Devontae Adams is supposed to help everybody learn, or no, actually, Alan Lazard was actually help everybody learn Aaron Rodgers' mindset along with Randall Cobb. Now it's like Garrett Wilson can do that with Justin Fields. But listen, man, this is what he does. This is what his tendencies are. That he could be that kind of like that communicating locker room to these young receivers, especially a guy like Aaron Smith and Malachi Corley.
Yeah, and if you want to take it a step further, granted this could be a reach, but Josh Myers having the experience with him back at Ohio State. So, whenever you're dealing with a mobile quarterback as an offensive lineman, it's sometimes a little difficult to like get your bearings on where Fields or where that mobile quarterback would be. Mm-hmm. Some guys bail out of the pocket early. Some guys have certain tendencies. Some guys maybe hang in there too late. Some guys like to, shoot up the middle, bounce to the right, bounce to the left, whatever gap they want to go through. So, Fields is obviously a different player than he was back at Ohio State. So I don't want to make this like this crazy unlocked situation where the, Josh Myers acquisition is putting us over the top, but I do think maybe there could be some knowledge there.
So now we're a little over a week away to training camp. The guys are reporting this weekend. A lot of news coming out fast and furious next week. What is your biggest concern as a whole for this New York Jets team as they head into training camp? Like, what is your alarming? Like, oh man, this is really concerning me. Like, what's bothering you the most?
D tackle.
Me too.
Yep. Stopping the run, D tackle. Because if we can't do that, not to downplay it and make it, oh yeah, that's easy to do. But if the Jets can't do that, we could be in for long Sundays, right? Where teams are just getting 4, 5, 6, 7 yards per rush, just like we saw last season. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, dude, we're doing everything right. We have a pass rush. We have a secondary. We have a good linebacking core. But first down is going for 7 yards, 2nd and 3. Yeah. Like, these are NFL offenses. And unfortunately, like, stopping the run, like, if you can't stop the run, you're probably not going to be able to stop the run all year. I don't know. It's just, now would you, me a little, I mean, I'm happy we have some veterans there, but it just kind of feels like a situation where we're going to reassess maybe in round 1 next year.
Now, would you? And I completely agree with you. Like my concern, having Garrett, having Mason Taylor, having Breece Hall kind of helps me a little bit with the passing game. Like, listen, there's ways they can make yards in the passing game. Okay. Would you say the defensive line as a whole could be a concern because you have Jermaine Johnson coming off an injury? Who is the pass rusher behind him? You have Will McDonald who put on weight. Like, to me, it's like, can they get a consistent pass rush without blitzing? They have to sell their soul to get a pass rush by blitzing. And can they stop the run? And a lot of that falls in the hands of the defensive line as a group where everybody loves Quentin Williams, but they brought Rashad Weaver in. But like, is that the line as a whole a problem or is it just defensive tackle? I mean, more of depth. Obviously, Leonard Taylor is going to take a big step up. I think it's the depth and the overall group itself is kind of, Joe Douglas did a really good job of screwing it up because they had a lot of talent and he removed a lot of it. And now it's like they replenished it with a lot of guys we don't know and unknowns. It's the line as a group kind of makes me a little uncomfortable.
One thing that always kind of left me scratching my head was why it seemed like the Jets front office, because these weren't solid decisions. Like why it always kind of felt like the front office devalued the D line.
Bingo.
Like we had some really good players, man. Like come in and just leave. Quentin Jefferson, career
John
year.
Franklin Myers was ridiculous.
JFM given away for nothing, bro. A conditional 6th round pick.
Stupid.
And JFM freaking said that he would take a pay cut to stay with the Jets. He signs this minuscule deal with Denver.
Yep.
And then goes on Twitter talking about how the Jets didn't offer him anything close to that minuscule deal. What was that, dude? Like, look, JFM's not this, top 10 player or anything like that. I don't want to overreact. But at the same time, it's just like, come on, man. Yeah. Like, we're just like, I don't know. Sheldon Rankins was kind of another one of those guys.
Yep, other guy.
I don't know, dude. Ironically enough, somehow the replacement, who was a big disappointment, Javon Kinlaw, gets this huge deal, 3 years, 45, just out of nowhere for Washington, which is kind of funny, but whatever. Congrats to him. But yeah, I think if we can shore up that D tackle position, get like this big run stuffer, I felt like there were multiple guys in the draft that we could have looked at, but I'm not going to complain about the draft because we have so many needs.
Yeah.
If we would have went with D tackle, we probably would have a huge need at tight end or a huge need at right tackle or something like that.
The other thing too is like you got to see what this coaching staff can do with these players where a lot of them have underachieved. Like Michael Clemens is underachieved. Like a lot of these younger players, they could actually get better with better coaching, with more accountability, more physicality, with a better scheme, better communication. So it's like, maybe they're taking that wait and see approach where we may have concerns. They know what they can do with these guys. Say, listen, we know we can stop the run because Aaron Glenn literally talked about it. He put a premium on it. Like, we have to stop the run. It's priority number 1 with our defense. He can't say that and then go up have like, the 28th ranked run defense. Because listen, we know like this is where, you talked about it and you didn't do it. So I'm curious if it's going to be the scheme, if they're going to maybe some of these guys are going to overachieve or actually play to their potential, which would be great. Maybe Michael Clemens, who knows? But it's probably one of my biggest stories I'm going to watch is you're excited about the offensive line. You're concerned about the defensive line and how they mold it and how it comes out with like their depth and their rotations. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, dude. I think, so I see Afram has a great question about how much blame, but a lot goes between the coaching staff and, the D line here. I would put it more so on the personnel. Because if you don't have someone who can like clog gaps, who can like consistently take on double teams, I just feel like you're in for a long day. Like, yeah, you can, bring an extra body into the box.
Can I cut you off? Yeah, I think I almost cursed just now. I agree with what you're saying, personnel, but can you also say that Saleh was very poor with his adjustments? There seems like there was communication issues, gap issues, scheme issues, where he was so friggin' stubborn with his with his play calling and his mindset that they didn't adjust and take advantage of certain things. Like, dude, we would talk about it during the season. Like, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? Like, it's like, it didn't make any sense. So yes, it's personnel. Joe Douglas wiped out a lot of talent. For God knows why he did that. But the coaching wasn't good. Ulbrich looked like he was lost, dude, once he took over. They had no idea what they're doing on defense. They couldn't communicate. They were just, pointing fingers like, oh, didn't you have him? I have him. You were 2 or 3 guys tackling each other or going at the same player. Like, they had no idea what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's both, but I just feel like if you put yourself in a coach's shoes, and you're looking at the roster and you're like, man, just when I say consistent, I mean week after week, no matter what offensive line you're playing against, we just don't have someone who can, be that anchor in the middle of the defense. Yeah, Quinnen can take on double teams, but if he takes why is Quinnen taking on a double team?
Yeah.
Because the offense is not scared of the other defensive tackle to make a play.
Right.
So I think that kind of says something here, but what team hits the off season with like 7 team needs and just says A+ across the board? We're fixing all of them, so there was bound to be a position or two that slipped through the cracks. But look, year one, Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, what we hope for is we found our right tackle, we found our quarterback, we found our free safety in Cisco, we found our tight end in Mason Taylor.
Yep.
We found our deep threat in Arian Smith. That's 4 or 5 needs sliced off the team needs list where, we're looking at, like the draft team needs for the Jets is like this laundry list every single season. O-line every year. So I'm excited to see that, or I'm excited to kind of see the roadmap on how this team maybe maneuvers moving forward throughout the years. But, it's also with future free agents and stuff. So.
But it's also July 15th. I'm hoping once training camp starts, and like Aaron Glenn always talks about it, the pads aren't on yet. A lot of things change when the pads go on. Your physicality, deal with adversity, deal with power, deal with speed. And it's like, then I'm hoping, say, beginning of August, mid-July or mid-August, they say, you know what? We don't have the guy we thought we have here. Then they make moves. We talked about it. They have cap space, dude. So if you realize that you think you're in your vision, like they're inheriting a team. They have no idea what they have. They think they know what they have based on film study and OTAs, but once the pads start popping, all right, you know what? This guy's soft. This guy can't, he can't shake a blocker. Now we make a move because we have the cap space to do it. I'm hoping the Jets are aggressive there, and they are, they help address the defensive line if need be, or any other position.
Yeah, and if you look at the Lions too, kind of how they operated when Glenn was there, I mean, obviously still, but they really prioritized D-line, right? They drafted Lee McNeil, they drafted Aiden Hutchinson, they paid him a ton of money, they drafted Levi Onwuzurike. If my memory serves me correctly, I believe McNeil and Levi were drafted in the same year. So like back-to-back defensive tackles coming in one class. Kind of reminds me of like Jamal Adams, Marcus May, where you're just like, you know what? We're done worrying about this position. Here's 2 guys, 2 starters.
Yep.
Like let's roll. And the Lions have kind of always, you just feel like over these past couple of seasons, like it starts up front for Detroit's, defense. And Steve Wilkes had a cool, like little interview over on Jets.com with, who was it? Eric Allen, maybe.
Yep.
Where he talked about, hey, defense starts up front, like the way we want to play, how aggressive we want to be. Like if we don't have success, if we're not, proactive and productive up front, it's just not going to be all that impressive come game day.
The 2 things I'm most curious to hear the reports on in training camp is 2 things: is physicality and attention to detail. The one thing that pissed me off beyond no end last year, and I probably said a million times, I don't even care, is when Saleh took the referees out of practice. It made no effing sense in the world to do that, because that's how you learn what a penalty is. That's how you learn how to modify your game to the NFL rules and improve your blocking, improve your pass rush, improve your coverage, all these different things. The attention to detail was kind of like a talking point throughout OTAs and mandatory minicamp, where the reporter said, like, Aaron Glenn was going through huddle by huddle, offense, defense, special teams, hands-on, change this, fix that, fundamentals. Like, I'm curious that really kind of keeps going out throughout camp, dude, because that's how you change it. You clean things up. And if you hold guys accountable, say, listen, man, this is what we expect. You're not doing it. You're not playing. Cool. I'm hoping that sticks, man, because that's what this team genuinely needs. Where I think in the past, the practices were too soft. It was kind of like not country club. It just seemed like it was a lot of complacency, not a lot of accountability. I'm hoping that you see a difference, especially with the tackling, where Aaron Glenn talked about it, saying, listen, now you learn how to tackle, you actually tackle in practice. Not, hit, like they can only do so much according to CBA, but you want to see that, kind of make the moves. And no, I didn't. I have a variety of hats, man.
And also, man, to your point, was that a reason that the Jets were penalized so much last season?
Can you imagine that? Like, that was like, and again, I'm old, dude. I used to go to practices every year, dude. Year in and year out of practice. Parcells had him. Everybody had him. Why would you take him out? You have a penalty problem. You take the referees out. That's how we avoid the problem by taking the referees out of the game. It makes no sense, dude. That was just
that's a whole nother. We could probably do another hour show on just how annoying the penalties were last season. Even, I mean, we're talking about Gardner, obviously, you know, big payday, but that was a problem of his game, which is the penalties, the grabbing, the jersey tug, the hand pull down. I mean, we could talk about the late hits, the pass interference, all these different things, holding on the offensive line, just super annoying stuff. Delay of games, dude. Delay of games. God.
Coming
that
off
was the most frustrating one.
Coming off a timeout, the delay of game was the classic.
But what you know, I see like a lot of people are, you know, glad that Salah's gone and stuff. But I mean, man, I will say in the defense of Robert Saleh, the second he left, we got way worse under Ulbrich.
That's not saying much, but I mean, it is bad. It did get a lot worse. I think the team just gave up at that point, but it's interesting. So is there anything else? We covered a lot in an hour, man. We covered Sauce, we covered Garrett, we covered the training camp stories. I mean, I'm excited, dude. Like, we're back now because now the training camp is here. We're back every Tuesday talking about it. And it's just, now it's fun because now with the Jets, there's so many young players fighting for roster spots, fighting for playing time, where it's like, I want to watch the preseason games. I'm curious to see how things put up because this is a very interesting team because there's a lot of unknowns, which makes things exciting.
Yeah, it makes Jets fans kind of intrigued, I would guess, on like how the season's going to go, right? What are the storylines? What are the tendencies? Who's performing well? Do we have an undrafted gem that's turning heads in preseason? Like a Robbie Anderson situation from a couple years ago, right? Where all of a sudden he just shows up and he leapfrogs the entire depth chart and is like wide receiver one is a, rookie undrafted guy. Like that's, do we have a situation like that? How is Justin Fields coming along? So yeah, only time will tell, but I'm excited.
And the other thing too is handling adversity. And that's one thing Aaron Gunn talked about where it's like, everything is great now. We're signing players. Everybody's happy. Everybody's healthy. It's like once you deal with that one big injury, which is going to happen, every team deals with it every year. How do they handle that? How do they bounce back if the guys are struggling or there's a discipline problem or like a penalty problem? Like how do they handle these things? I'm fascinated by.
100%, man. 100%.
So
yeah. No. So every Tuesday, me and Tyson are going live, but outside of that, I don't really hop on live all that much, but I don't know. That might change this season.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks I've been taking off because I've been moving and it's just a real quiet time. But now we're back, man. Every Tuesday, I'm excited to talk football, just analyze all the practices, the reports, and let's kick off a fun season, man. It's all this positivity, man. It's refreshing.
Oh, yeah, dude. Especially coming, like, kind of bouncing back from last season. It's not like we, had a lot going for the team a year ago where it's like, 8-9 wins, kind of right there. Like it's lots of new faces, man. Lots of new decision makers too.
So thank you guys for joining us. We've been really inconsistent. It's my fault. So again, Tuesday, 7:00, we rotate back and forth different channels and we're back for the next friggin' God knows how many weeks, 4 or 5 months now. So I get used to talking to you again.
Dude, it should be a lot of fun.
We'll talk to you guys later.
JETS!